Human beings are fascinated by conspiracy theories. The idea that there is a big secret being hidden by the powerful and that it could be revealed at any moment. This is something that piques our curiosity. But as you may have already noticed, most conspiracy theories in the end are always a big lie. This is the case with theories that say man never walked on the moon. On the other hand, some theories do indeed prove to be true. For a long time, for example, there were those who said that the United States government was spying on American citizens and also on people from other countries. In the end, the former CIA agent, Edward Snowden, revealed the PRISM program and proved to the world that it was really happening. This shows that it is not always easy to determine if a conspiracy theory is just the product of a creative imagination or if it might actually have some truth to it. But what if I told you that there is a calculation that helps bring this answer? I am really talking about a mathematical formula that seeks to discover if conspiracy theorists might be right or if they have made up a story and are lying to you. It may seem strange, but this equation exists, and here it is.
Hey, Pedro here. This video you are watching was originally in Portuguese, my native language. This is the attempt of our team to translate it to English, and I sincerely hope you enjoy it. Your feedback is extremely important to us. Now, back to the video.
For you to understand how the equation works, we first need to define what exactly a conspiracy theory is. Basically, it is any story that says a few people are hiding a big secret from the rest of humanity. In other words, it is the thought that a government or a company or any other group of individuals is behind some kind of mysterious plot. And the subjects are as varied as possible. There are conspiracy theories related to science, politics, culture, sports, but regardless of the theme, they all have in common the idea that you are being deceived. The more enigmatic a conspiracy theory is, the more successful it tends to be. Want to see an example? You have certainly heard of the Illuminati, the most well-known secret society in the world, right? This is somewhat paradoxical, but the fact is that many books and movies have already depicted the story of this group, which supposedly aims to establish the New World Order, a kind of global government formed by a small, mysterious elite. And there is an idea similar to another theory that has been popular in recent years, QAnon, which denounces an alleged group of politicians, artists, and businessmen who would gather to perform satanic rituals and other abominable crimes. Another even more bizarre theory is that of the reptilians. In summary, it is the idea that some of the most powerful and influential people in the world, such as American presidents or European monarchs, are all lizards. Literally, lizards in human form. Another topic that attracts many conspiracy theorists is music. You've certainly heard that Elvis didn't die, or that Paul McCartney died, or that if you play some songs backwards, you'll summon an evil spirit. This is obviously a lie, but still, I don't take responsibility if you listen to it backwards. Finally, another fertile ground for conspiracy theories is soccer fields. Since the 1998 World Cup final, a famous copy-paste post resurfaces from time to time claiming the match was staged and that Brazil lost the title on purpose. If people knew what happened, they would be disgusted. But among all the themes that inspire conspiracy theorists, perhaps the most popular is astronomy. From the hoax about the moon landing to the idea that the Earth is flat, from Area 51 to the aliens among us, everyone has heard some bizarre story involving a great space mystery kept secret by the authorities. This type of theory is so successful because the universe itself is already very mysterious. We get used to this idea, but stop to think. It is truly frightening to remember that we are all on a tiny rock traveling through outer space for thousands of years and that we are surrounded by an infinity of secrets far beyond our comprehension. This creates a perfect environment for enigmatic conspiracy stories. But what explains the fact that so many people believe, for example, that the Earth is not round? After all, why would there be an international effort by the world's top authorities to simply pretend that the planet has a different shape than it actually does? I don't know, ask a flat earther, but some reasons help us understand why conspiracy theories are so successful. And one of them is the so-called need for belonging. It is that human search to feel part of some group. And this can happen through cheering for a sports team, a passion for some artist, or for some people through conspiracy theories. By being part of a club of flat earthers, for example, many people stop feeling lonely and see themselves as part of a larger movement, made up of people who think in a similar way. And this brings us to another important concept here, which is the herd effect. It is what makes many people follow the actions of a group irrationally, without properly analyzing the facts. So, if everyone around me is saying that a medicine doesn't work, it must be because it really doesn't work. And this has everything to do with another factor that explains the success of conspiracy theories. It is called confirmation bias. It is our tendency to seek arguments that support what we already believe. Someone who belongs to an anti-vaccine movement, for example, will cling to some rare side effect of vaccines to claim that they are harmful. They will not take into account all the scientifically proven benefits. And this shows that, although there are some harmless and even fun conspiracy theories, some others can be quite dangerous, especially those that involve health. That is why it is so important for people to know how to identify whether a theory has a chance of being true or if it is complete nonsense. And it was with this exact thought in mind that an Irish researcher had an idea: to replace the inherent subjectivity of the human being with the intrinsic objectivity of mathematics. In other words, he wanted to create a calculation that would help us discover the likelihood of a conspiracy theory being true. I am talking about the physicist David Grimes from the University of Oxford. Pay attention as I will explain step by step what his line of reasoning was. He started from the premise that in a supposed conspiracy, all the people involved would be committed to keeping such a secret protected. But there are two risks that could ruin everything. One is the possibility of someone revealing the truth and leaking it unintentionally due to some carelessness with that information. And another risk is that one of the people involved might purposely expose the conspiracy to reveal the grand hoax to the world. And then a challenge arose for this researcher: how to mathematically calculate the chance of someone spilling the beans. The challenge was to calculate the chance of someone saying more than they should, whether unintentionally or on purpose. And for this, he studied 3 conspiracy theories that eventually proved to be true at some point in history. One of them was the one I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the allegation that the American government was spying on citizens through a surveillance program called PRISM. The case was revealed by Edward Snowden, a former agent of the CIA and the NSA, the National Security Agency of the United States. Another case was the Tuskegee experiment. This story, confirmed by the Dr. Peter Buxton, stated that hundreds of black men with syphilis had been deliberately left untreated so that the natural progression of the disease could be studied. And finally, a scandal involving the FBI. The scientist Frederick Whitehurst revealed that errors in forensic examinations by the American Federal Police had led several innocent people to prison, and that some of them had even been executed by mistake. The Oxford researcher analyzed these 3 cases and calculated for each of them how many people were involved in the conspiracy and how long it took for the truth to be revealed. In the case of American espionage, for example, he observed that about 30,000 people had covered up the story for 6 years until Edward Snowden blew the whistle. In the case of the syphilis experiment, about 6,700 people were involved over 25 years. And in the case of the FBI, 500 people were involved over 6 years. And with this information in hand, Grimes calculated that the frequency at which a conspiracy is revealed is approximately 4 in 1 million per person involved per year. He then called this number P. And based on this, he created a function for the average number of conspiracy failures per unit of time. He called it phi, which can be expressed as 1 minus 1 minus p raised to the power of nt, which represents the period of time. And then finally, he arrived at that equation I mentioned at the beginning of the video. L is the chance of a conspiracy failing over a given period of time. This chance can be calculated as 1 minus the constant e, which is the base of natural logarithms, raised to the power of negative t, which is the time in years, times phi, which is that function I showed earlier. The higher the value of the result, L, the greater the chance of a conspiracy failing. To make it easier to understand, let's look at a practical situation. David Grimes himself developed some examples to discover how long a conspiracy could last until its leak was imminent, with a value of L above 0.95. And for this, he applied the equation to some famous conspiracy theories, such as the one that man never went to the moon. Considering that 4 in 1,000 people, which was the total number of NASA employees in the 1960s, would need to be part of the conspiracy that supposedly lied about the man going to the moon, this means that the hoax would likely be discovered in approximately 3.7 years. In other words, after this time, the value of L would exceed 95%, indicating that some of those involved would almost certainly reveal the lie. It is worth noting that to this day, more than 50 years later, no NASA employee has made such a claim. In other words, the fact that no one has disclosed the supposed hoax is further corroboration that, yes, humans did go to the moon, and then he applied the same calculation to other theories. The one that global warming is fake, for example, would have been revealed in a period between 3 and 26 years, depending on which international bodies would know about the fraud. Theories that vaccines cause autism would have been discovered within 3 to 34 years, also depending on who would participate in the hoax. And the theory that pharmaceutical industries are hiding the cure for cancer would have been discovered in just over 3 years. In other words, if these conspiracy theories were true, it is practically certain that the truth about them would have already come to light, considering the time that has passed and the number of people supposedly involved. In summary, any conspiracy that involves many people over a long period of time is doomed to fail. And the interesting thing is that the calculation can be applied to any conspiracy theory. Just consider how many people would be involved and how much time would have passed since it started. But if you are not willing to do so many calculations to find out whether a conspiracy theory is true or not, it's all right. There are some other tips that might help. Firstly, if an idea is so absurd that it seems like a lie, then it probably is a lie. So be wary of anything that is too strange and beyond the limits of common sense. For example, lizard humans. Be wise to be cautious of stories that involve evil plans or dark pacts or any other narrative that seems to have come out of a bizarre fiction book. Especially nowadays with all the media coverage, the massive presence of social networks and hidden camera technologies, what are the chances of world leaders secretly meeting to perform macabre rituals? Furthermore, false theories often do not present evidence. It's all based on trust. They also leave loose ends and open possibilities, saying that maybe we will never know the truth. It is a way to sow distrust even without any basis. And another detail is that, usually, in false theories, the people who supposedly lead the conspiracy do not have their identities disclosed. It's always the system, the rulers, the powerful, or simply they. They don't want you to know the truth. That is, it is always attributed to some generic group, leaving room for each person to interpret it as they wish. Finally, think about this. If the conspiracy is super secret, kept under lock and key, and restricted only to super influential and powerful people, how did your Uncle Walter find out? But I also don't want to seem naive. Of course, it's possible that there are indeed many secret conspiracies. But precisely because they are secret, we have no idea. If a secret story is already so well known by everyone, it is more likely to be false. That the so-called bombshell revelation is actually a big lie. And that the supposed conspiracy is nothing more than a theory. Thank you very much, and see you next time, if they let us.